I think it opened the doors that needed to be opened. I think it gave me time to pursue something that made sense to other people, right?
Mhm.
It's like, okay, because I made it this far, whatever.
Hey, what's up, Hunter? How are you?
Oh man, how are you? Good, good.
I'm great. I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. I'm Adam, and this is about you and your journey in music. We'll talk about the song you have coming out in a few days now, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I love it. I had a chance to hear it early. It's great.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah, I really like it. Um, cool. So I always just start off with you're born and raised. Did I see you're from Franklin, Tennessee?
Yes, yeah. So,
No way.
born and raised. I'm in Nashville now, so 30 minutes north, but my whole life, Franklin,
Oh,
music.
that's amazing.
Yeah, the whole time.
Okay, I've moved here about a little over 3 years ago now.
Okay, where are you from?
San Diego.
Okay, okay, amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Me and I guess half our state moved here. So sorry about
All right.
that. um, that's awesome. So talk to me about Franklin. I mean, I know about it, but maybe others don't.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a bubble, right?
Okay.
It feels like a little Hallmark town. Um, it's quiet though. I feel like a lot of music stuff is still happening down there, but in a different way. It feels a little more family than Nashville.
Mhm.
It feels like, yeah, where families go. If they live in Nashville, then they just kind of like go down to Franklin. It's like the progression. It's like just
Yeah, 100%.
up in
It's
Franklin.
like the burbs, right? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you want to go to a good school district and raise your family in a safe neighborhood.
Yeah,
You're moving to Franklin, Tennessee.
absolutely.
That's cool. So, well, tell me about like, do you come from a musical household?
Yeah, yeah. So originally my parents are from Mississippi and Texas, and
Okay.
they both moved here to do music in different ways. Both don't do it anymore. But that was kind of like the reason that brought them to Nashville in the first place. So it was around me growing up to an extent. Um yeah, yeah, and I think it's like a quiet dream of theirs still, and something that like they hold close. To see me do it at any capacity, I think is really special for them.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm sure they were so happy when you started even playing. Because most kids, if they grow up in a musical household, that doesn't mean necessarily they want to pursue anything that has to do with what their parents did or
Oh yeah, or
or were
can be
interested
the
in.
opposite too. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, with that, like, so do your parents like did they kind of introduce you to music or were they doing music in any capacity when you were born? Or is
Yes,
that so okay?
I felt like just instruments were always available, and I think that's maybe what like sparked it. Just like the access to that, like just having a piano around or having a guitar around. I think is was like a really like did more than I know, like
Mhm.
subconsciously even. But they never did it. Well, my dad was on the business side, but nothing creative.
Mhm.
Same with my mom, never was in the creative space. Just more of like true fans of it all. And I think that kind of like bled into what I do.
Okay. And
Yeah.
where did you start? Did you start off on piano?
Yeah, well, I started off on guitar, but then they both kind of simultaneously. Um, And I think that's been a huge help too, just being able to do both. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you take lessons or was it all self taught?
I did a few guitar lessons at first, and then like YouTube was probably
Okay.
my
YouTube.
lessons.
Sure.
Yeah, so a lot through YouTube. Same thing with all the production stuff. So I don't know if you're aware, but all the songs are produced by me too.
Oh, I
Uh,
did not know that. That's
yeah,
incredible.
yeah. So that's all YouTube. Yeah.
That's I'm a bit older. YouTube was not quite a thing when I was younger. And like I'm just so jealous that the next generation got a chance to, oh, I want to learn. I had to like learn. I'm not good at guitar by any means, but like if I wanted to try to learn something, I'd have to, go on Ultimate Guitar tab and try to figure it out. And it's like you never get the strumming right. You have to like listen to the song
Yeah.
10,000 times. Or if you just watch some guy on YouTube just teach you in 10 minutes, you're like, wow, that's
Oh,
that's
totally.
amazing. Just
It's like
cuts
a
out
whole whole world out there that you can learn. I mean, it's endless. It really is.
Yeah, that's amazing. So YouTube, you're learning production as well. When did you start doing your own producing?
Yeah, so around high school, probably like junior or senior year, was when I really started to dive into that. I had a couple friends who did it, and they were like so good, and I was like, okay, I need to learn this. And so started out as more of like a necessity, where it's like, okay, I need to catch up. And then I really like fell in love with that. And I think that's one of my favorite parts, because you get to like have your hands in it a little more.
Mhm.
Uh, and I think that's really important in terms of like the overall sound of everything. Like being the physical hands to make that is just another part of it that I love. And I think it adds like another layer of like almost authenticity to the music. Or at least I hope it does. So
No, 100%. You can kind of put your own stamp on it instead of like, here are the songs, here are the demos, and having somebody or seeking out a producer or somebody else to do what they do and kind of give their, sound to it as well.
yeah, and I think I used to do that or want to at least, where it's like, okay, I need to find somebody else to like who's better or this or that. And I think over time it's like it kind of takes away or you get away from like the root of it, the root
Mhm.
of the song, if you will. Or at least I found that. And maybe I just haven't found, my person for that role, because obviously collaboration, I'm like so open to that.
Mhm.
But in terms of like this record and most of them in the past, it's been all from me, so it's been
Just
cool.
you. Wow. And no co-writer, nothing. It's just all you
Oh,
and
so the
then
writing is different. I love writing with people. I think
okay.
that like opens the door to get out of your head a little bit.
Mhm.
I think like when I look at the song as a whole, I have a better like grasp on the soundscape of it and like the like integrity of the sounds. But when it comes to lyrics, I can be like super overthinking it. And
Mhm.
so I've found that like writing with other people, even if it's like I'll bring a concept, right? And then we work through it together where it makes most sense or like they can see the point of view or like my lens. It's really helpful to have somebody else in the room for me personally,
Mhm.
who can kind of like filter these really big ideas and kind of like zoom into something that's really like palatable.
Sure, it's almost like they're editing it down into like a
Yes.
smaller piece.
Yeah.
With songwriting and stuff, was that something you were doing? And it sounds like you were doing production in high school, but you must have had songs to be like, "Oh, I wanna go and, tinker around with the songs that I've written." When did you start writing your own songs?
Yeah, I think like right when you pick up a guitar, your first like inclination is either like cover somebody else's song that you love, right?
Mhm.
Or slowly start to like piece different chords together and then like conceptualize your own songs. So I couldn't tell you like the day I wrote my first song, right? Like I don't have like the piece of paper or whatever.
Okay.
But I think it's just like whenever I started learning, it was kind of like they were kind of like in unison where it's like, okay, now that I know this person's song, I can like apply that. Like I like this and this and this from this song, but I like this from another side, whatever, and kind of piece it together.
Okay, so you were learning other people's songs as well. It wasn't like,
Totally.
"I'm just gonna learn guitar and then straight away write my own music."
Yes, no, Hallelujah was definitely
Oh,
definitely a
wow.
favorite.
That was an early one you learned?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, man, that's a epic song. Um, well, so you did that all through high school. I know you did American Idol. I don't wanna stay too long on it, but it is part of your journey, and I'm curious a little bit
Yeah.
about that.
So
Sorry, go
sorry.
ahead.
No, so after high school, I went to a coding school. It's called Nashville Software School. So I did like software development for a couple of
Wow,
years.
totally away from music, sounds like.
Yes, yeah. I just didn't
Sure.
see like, well, I didn't know, I didn't really like, it sounds cheesy, but I didn't believe in myself enough to like see it as a tangible thing. It was like, this can be a hobby that I really enjoy, but not a
Mhm.
career. And so
Got
I
it.
did the coding school, was working there in Hendersonville, which is like 30 minutes north of Nashville,
Yeah.
um, for like a year and a half. And like when I was in the work environment, I just really didn't enjoy it.
So
Like
you
I
went
worked,
to coding school in Nashville and then got a job in Hendersonville, or
Yeah.
you were
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, so went to coding school, did the whole thing, got out, got a job coding. And I mean it was for some people, like some people loved it and it's awesome, but it just wasn't for me. I didn't feel like it was for me.
Mhm.
And I saw Idol or American Idol as like the way out almost, where it made sense. And it was like in my brain, it's like, okay, I audition, they tell me like the answer to a question that I've had is like, okay, am I good enough to like do this as a career? And in
Mhm.
my head, it was just like, that's the easiest way. I don't have to guess and do the thing. I'll just let other people tell me, basically.
That's
And I
in
think, yeah,
I was gonna say that I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm that's intriguing to me because you grew up, in Franklin and in Nashville. There's even publishers in Franklin and big record labels that are out of there, and then not going like, okay, I'm just gonna try to give these demos to people and see if they think it's good. It was like, I'm gonna allow just, it was cut and dry. It sounds like for you, it was like, I'm gonna try to do American Idol, and if they say no, then that's the validation that I'm not good. Like that, it's just interesting for this town to hear that.
I think too, when you're like growing up in it, that seems like the most obvious way or like the way you hear over and over again. I just didn't want to do that. I was like, okay, if I can get on the screen and they're gonna tell me yes or no, I'd almost rather it be like that cut and dry and not go to 20 different, send 100
Meetings.
different emails and do all the things. Yeah. It was just like, okay, I'm gonna do this for 2 days, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then it'll, yeah, yeah.
Wow. Okay. So then what did they come through Nashville, or do you have to drive to Atlanta or something to
Well, at the
audition?
time it was COVID, so
Oh,
it was like
so it
a
was just
Zoom.
like a Zoom one.
Yeah, I literally played for them like on Zoom.
So
Like,
how do you pass the first? Because I'm sure like it wasn't just Katy Perry just sitting on her Zoom right away, right? I mean, there's probably other people you have to get through.
yeah.
Does it cut the line out? Is it like, okay, I'm gonna submit the video to this thing and then they're gonna go on Zoom? Like how did you submit a video to start the audition process?
Yeah, so there's a video and then there was like a window of Zoom times where like all these people would be in the Zoom, right?
Okay.
So like you might have, I don't know what the capacity is, but it's like if you were like in a like college classroom, right? And all the people
Mhm.
are there, but
Yeah,
they'll
you
just
see all
take it.
the gallery screens.
They'll just take in one at a time. And you just played three songs and they told you if you'd get an email or not, and that's how it happened.
Oh, wow. So they don't even tell you right away. It's like,
No, I
okay,
think they have like a big old list. They're probably doing a lot of like, okay, all the things.
sure, sure. Wow. So what was the video you submitted to them?
I think I did the same one as the live audition. It's like all the pretty girls is like a Kaleo
Oh, the
thing.
Cleo song.
Yeah, and I think at the time too, I did a Lana Del Rey. It was like Young and Beautiful, but like a
Okay.
folky way. And then that ended up not getting clear. Like they didn't clear the song for television use, I guess. So I
Oh, I didn't even
changed
think
out.
about the like that end of it. So
Dude,
yeah,
it
you
was
can't just go up
bizarre.
there and play whatever the hell you want.
Totally. No, it was bizarre at times because like you'd have arrangements or things you thought were really cool or songs you thought would be like a really cool spin on this or that. And it was just like no, like not clear, not clear. It was kind of just like an Excel sheet where you just kind of pull from.
Wow, I've had a lot of people on the show that have gone on Idol or got far in Idol or whatever, and no one's ever told me that side of it. Like that there's actually if you present a song that hasn't been cleared, that they're like, "No, sorry."
No, yeah, I
That's
mean, I get,
crazy.
I get it, right? Like,
Yeah.
it makes sense, but no, there were definitely, I mean, multiple times when my experience where it was like you go and you kind of play them a song and they'll like see if it's good, for
Uh-huh.
and uh and they're just like, okay, that's great, but it's not clear. So,
Wow. Do you know this before going into maybe like, because it seems like pretty crunch time. Like, okay, this, whatever week we're gonna do X, Y, or Z. I'm sure at that point you probably have a list that you can pull from so you don't have to
yeah.
screw around with
Yeah.
like, all right, I practiced this song like for 6 hours, and then they're like, ah, sorry, it's not clear. You gotta start over.
Yeah, well, it'd be like you kind of like as you progress, you just get like an email right? And it's like, okay, this is the next one, and this is the song. Like, choose from these songs and like prepare the.
Okay. Okay. So you get through the you get accepted in. That was probably a big validation, right? Like, okay, we want to have you on the Zoom because they
Yeah,
probably weeded out a lot of people right away.
yes. I think secretly it was like, okay, I can do this. I wasn't like totally blind, or else I wouldn't have auditioned if I really didn't believe in myself, right? Like I think there's a
Yeah.
part of me that always has, right? But I think I did need that kind of extra push. And
Mhm.
I think Idol was a good experience for that in that regard, where it's like, okay, um, it kind of like allowed me the space to really press into it and view it as something um that I could do long term and like a hobby that you love and fortunately turn it into a career.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I've got just two more questions on the idol
Yeah.
thing, and we're gonna move forward. Um, how long did you do the Zoom thing? Was it just to the auditions, or did you have to? Was it like the three judges like literally doing this? Like, okay,
So it
sing
was
into the computer.
just the initial one for
Like,
the producers of this.
got it. Okay. So when you actually had to go sing in front of them, it wasn't like an awkward, like, okay, let me make sure the sound, like, and then you're
Yeah,
sitting
no,
here trying to
no, they
play
were
on a,
there, and it was like it was heavily regulated. I think like
oh,
at
I'm
the
sure.
time, but no, it wasn't. It was they were in person. It was cool.
Okay. Rad. And then I mean, you make it really, really far. You're like to the top seven people at the end there. And you played the first single that you ended up releasing. Maybe you had other songs out prior to that, but now on your Spotify, the first one is The River, and you played that song, your original. I mean, that's a bold move to do, right? I mean, not a lot of people people will get up there and do their songs kind of early on, but I feel like to be that far into the show and then be like, I'm just gonna do my own.
Yeah, I think at that point too, um, I was I was like trying to look at just like long game stuff,
Mhm.
because I want to be like someone that you look back at their career and it's like a cool discography and it wasn't like an overnight thing and it's like something that I can sing when I'm 35 years old and it still makes sense and like
Mhm.
relate to people. So I think at that time it was just like I've made it really far. I feel good about what I'm doing. Like I don't it's not that I didn't care, obviously, but
Right.
I just wanted to be like for not to be like boxed in as like American Idol indie folk guy.
Right. Right.
And it was like an opportunity to showcase, something that I had written and I had produced, like that kind of thing. Um, so yeah, I just took it.
Yeah, I watched your performance of it. I mean, I was like, damn, I didn't know that it was your song in the very beginning. Like I heard it on Spotify and then I saw that that was one of the songs you played at the last thing. And then I went and found the video of you playing an American Idol. So then I'm like doing this Google search because it cut off like any like banter beforehand or after. And it was like, oh, that you had written. I was like, damn, like that's a really good song. Like, and then to think that you played that as your last one. That's
Yeah.
awesome, and I have a lot of respect for you for that too, because I know I've had other people on, like I said, from that show, and they were kind of saying like they were excited or they were happy that they got kicked off at a certain point, like legally, because it gets into like contracts and all these things that you kind of get tied up in, and people that I've had on that have had success outside of it, they're not looked at as like, oh, that's oh, that's Hunter from American Idol. Like you lose that kind
Yeah.
of stigma, I think.
Yeah, to some extent, right? I think like it does follow you because like we're talking about it and this
Yeah, but it is a
but
part of your story, right? I mean,
totally.
that's the only reason why I'm bringing it up, but,
Yeah.
um
Yeah. No, I think it's a good time to exit. And who know like I don't know if I was like glad to lose,
right,
but
of course.
it was I think it was a good time and I think it's like as time moves on, it is a part of my story.
Mhm,
And I think like it's important for other people too. I think it'll continue to be other people's stories in a way, regardless of its idol or like the shows or social media, that kind of thing. I think it just continues. It's like how can you get in front of people? How can you show them that you're not like a solely just like a karaoke singer?
mhm.
How can you show them that like you're somebody who wants to create something that like relates to people and connect to people. Um, So yeah, that was my angle, and it
Yeah,
was
that's
fun.
brilliant. And so once you're off the show, how quickly then do you put out the river? And is the version that so all the music that you have up now on Spotify, you produce, do everything, or aside from you sounds like you had co-writers, but is that all music that you've done all that
Yeah, there's a
majority
couple.
of it by yourself?
There's a couple that have like co-production on it. I think that a lot of those like stemmed from friends being a part of it. But
Mhm.
yeah, The River was the first song ever made and put out. So there was nothing prior to that.
Oh,
Uh,
wow. So
yeah,
all the other stuff you had done wasn't it was just when you were younger, and then the river just kinda came along and you're like, "Okay, I'm gonna showcase this on national TV, and then I'm
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
release it." Like
yeah.
that's rad. Okay, so then you do that song, and then, you've released a handful of records over the course of the last few years, um, with the most recent one that's coming out in 2 days or something. I can't believe it's almost February, it's crazy. Somehow You're Always There, which is I love that song. Talk to me about that song a little bit, and then, kind of after Idol, did that stigma kinda stick around for a little while?
Yeah, I think initially you're kind of like put in that atmosphere or that category.
Mhm.
Like, okay, this is where they're coming from. It's like a foot in the door with like something that kind of like a shadow that follows you.
Right.
Um, but I think it like has slowly kind of dissipated, and I think everything right now feels really organic and kind of outside of that, which is like a really good feeling. Um,
Yeah.
and it's less like a TV thing and more of like a artist. I'm finding the music, I'm finding the artist, that kind of thing. A little bit more organic in a sense. So I've really loved that. But yeah, I've just been putting out songs, just trying to stay as consistent as possible and like showcase that it's like I'm gonna keep making music. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
keep doing it. And I think with anything else, I think I'm gonna get better. I think I'm gonna find different ways to express myself, and continue to like dig deeper inside myself and present, something to the world that I have to say and something that I feel has like a lot of meaning.
Mhm. I'll be completely honest with you. I listened to your music, I got your press release, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm really excited, I'm gonna have Hunter on my show." And it wasn't until I started doing, like, deeper research that I found out that you're on American Idol. I would've never known, like,
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, and I was like, "Oh, this guy's really good," and I was a fan, and then I'm like Googling stuff, like stuff about you, and then it was
yeah.
like, "Well, what season was Hunter Metz?" I was like, "Oh, no way." He was, and then it was like, I'm in this hole of
Oh,
finding
no,
out,
no, no.
American Idol stuff. But before
Sucks to
that, I had
be in
no
there.
idea. So it wasn't like, "Oh, yeah, it's a guy from American Idol." It was just like, "Oh, this dude's rad and his music is rad.
Yeah,
I wanna check him out." And then to find that out later, like, I'm curious to find out, like, a little bit about that piece of it, but
yeah.
so what yeah, so but, like, were you playing around Nashville after that? And, was it it must have been helpful, obviously, to be on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like I said, I think it opened the doors that needed to be opened. I think it gave me time to pursue something that made sense to other people, right?
Mhm,
It's like, okay, because I made it this far, whatever, it kind of gave me a couple years to like go for it. Um, yeah, yeah, and I'm still going for it. You know what I mean?
mhm.
But it allowed me time to figure things out.
Sure, sure. And were you I mean, I would imagine putting the river out fairly quickly after that, you kinda have to ride the wave and the momentum that you've gained versus like, "Okay, now I'm gonna just take a break for a year and then try to
Yeah,
come back
totally.
out," right? Um, so with this new song comes out, like, in a couple days, "Somehow You're Always There." Talk to me a little bit about this song.
Yeah, so in 2021, my best friend, his name's Matthew. We went to high school together. Like, he's one of the few people I keep up with. Like I feel like maybe everybody has one or two people that
Yeah.
they like just somehow continue to talk to.
From high
Anyway,
school, you mean, or just in general?
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, one or two people.
Dude,
In
I'm old. I had my 20-year high school reunion
yeah,
last year, and, I was just like people my wife's like, "Oh, are you gonna go?" And I'm like, I don't even really I don't talk to any of those people. Maybe
Yeah.
like 1 or 2, like you just said, and it's like, I haven't cared to see them in 20 years. Like, why the hell am I gonna go back
Yeah,
and see
no,
them
I
now?
probably yeah, I won't be at that either.
But that's funny. Okay, so yeah, you have this a couple buddies from high school, this one person in particular.
Yeah, and, in 2021, he in August of 2021, he lost his mom to COVID,
Oh my
and,
gosh.
yeah, so it was like man, it was weird. I remember where I was, and we knew it was going on. So his whole family, well, his mom, his sister, and him, because it's just the three of them. They all
Mhm.
got COVID, and man, within like 2 weeks, they had recovered, and she had passed. Um, and so I remember
Oh,
driving
it
to
took
the
her that quickly. That's so crazy. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
yeah. So I remember picking him up from the hospital the night that she passed. I remember like the car ride back to his house where his family was in town and staying because, of the shape that she was in.
Mhm.
And and so that just kind of like stuck with me for years. And it felt really weird to almost like monetize like a real life situation that's so like potent like that. Meaning like in my brain, the creative part is like I want to express this, but it felt like very cheap almost to be like right after she passed, I'm just gonna go write a song. I don't know. It just didn't feel right in 2021, and it took me like literally 2 years to start writing this experience and like put it into something, um, put it into words and music and everything like that. So
Mhm.
somehow you're always there. It's about her. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you would as an artist and a musician, that's probably a pretty therapeutic thing for you to do though, right? I mean, just okay, I had this experience. I just need to get it out there right now. And but I can see where you're saying like I don't want people to think like, "Oh, this happened, so now I'm going to write a song about it and hopefully that'll get me a million views or whatever."
Exactly. It's like if that was the intention for that thing, I think I just don't, I think it's like wrong almost. I
No,
don't know.
100%. Yeah, just be like, "Oh, I'm gonna take this terrible thing that had happened, and I'm gonna try to," like you said earlier, monetize it. But in a way, it's like you're just telling your story and how you're feeling at the moment. But I understand why you held it for a little bit or waited. But
Yeah. Yeah.
either way, it's like you're just that's a therapeutic moment, I would imagine.
Totally. And I think there were like a lot of like healing things along the way, not just for me, but for my friend. And I
Sure.
think a lot of times it was like me putting myself in his shoes. Because it's not my mom. And so just like seeing how it's all played out for him and how it's affected him. I mean, he's obviously okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it's your mom. And I think it's like it's hard. It's something we still think about every day. I'm sure he thinks about it more than me.
Mhm.
So I was just trying to be like super respectful and like allow some time to pass, and like heal privately or in different ways. And then it just felt like really right. I mean, when I was writing the song, I remember having the some days it's hard to find you, but somehow you're always there. And I didn't know if it was supposed to be like how accurate of a depiction, I didn't know if it was supposed to be from his point of view or my point of view. I didn't know if it was supposed to be about loss, like a universal human experience of loss, or, like a super specific, loss. So it took me a long time to find the words to make it feel like people could connect with it, but at the same time, like healing for me and healing for my friend.
Mhm. Did you show your friend the song? Like, before you
Yeah.
had put and, was that must have been an emotional moment
Yeah,
maybe
it
for the
was
both of you, right?
it was really special. I waited until it was like completely done. So it wasn't like, "Hey, bro, I'm making a song, about."
Yeah. I wrote the song about your mom. It's like,
Yeah,
"Wait, what?"
right? And I waited it's completely over, completely done, like final done. And I made it really casual. I didn't want to be like, "Hey, come listen to the," It was like, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know I made this song. And I played it for him, and it was emotional, but in a beautiful way, right? It wasn't like, oh, it's so sad. Because I think that is like the song it is beautiful in a way, to me at least, where
Yeah.
it's like she is, meaning his mom that passed, like she is always here somehow.
Mhm.
And I think
Right.
at the root of it, it's like it's that unexplainable feeling when you have lost something. It's like they're not completely gone, or at least in my experience, they haven't been. So
Mhm. With a song like that going into even maybe showing it to him, were you do you think a lot of, you know, taking the time to really make sure you're saying what you wanted to say, uh, were you concerned that he might, I don't know, like, you probably place words specifically because you're like, "Okay, I wanna make sure that this"
yeah,
you know, you wanna not that you don't always put out your best effort, but you're like, "In this moment, like, this is a big thing that had happened, not only obviously to your friend, but all to yourself as well."
yeah.
Um, you know, was it, like, hard to write in the way that, like,
Definitely,
it's
definitely.
this
It had
really
been
deep
written yeah, it had been written multiple times, um, like, from 0 up, and it
Oh,
always
wow.
had that tag of some days it's hard to find you, somehow you're always there, but, man, I mean, I think it went through, like, 3 or 4 versions, um the person who I originally wrote it with, who is, like, one of my favorite collaborators, we wrote it, and I was like, "Hey, I think I need to rewrite it." You know, I just had to tell him. It has nothing to do with you or me, I just think it's not exactly what I should say, and,
Mhm,
uh, and I ended up rewriting, the whole thing. But within that process, I think I'm really proud of myself for not just, like, writing the song and,
mhm.
like and just going through the motions and just telling the story. It's like, man, when I listen to that song, I'm proud of it, and I think it is something that I'll look back on and be like, "I'm so glad you did that," to myself. Uh,
Right, right.
I'm so glad you didn't just, like I'm so glad you sat down and you figured it out, and it took a long time. Like, I'm glad it took a long time. I'm glad I had to, like, come back to it and make sure that every little word is what I wanted to say. Yeah. I don't know if that answers your
No,
question.
it did, 100%. It
Yeah.
did. Well, I think the song is amazing, and you have a EP as well, or you're working towards an EP?
Yeah. Yeah. So, we have no date yet, but I think we have the songs. It's really cool. Some of it's, like, different than, the excited, and then just,
Sorry, you
yeah.
froze there for a second. You said it's different, and then it was like, cut your
Oh,
but now
it's
you're back.
it's different than some of the stuff that all the indie folk thing, like that palette, it kinda branches out a little bit. So I'm excited to see, how people react to it or if people are into it.
I love it. And are you doing, any shows around Nashville area or tours or
No,
anything
not
down
right
the
now,
books?
not right now. I'm pretty particular in that regard too, like, I wanna make sure it's, like, curated and it makes sense, and I want people to come and, like, "Okay, that was an experience," you know?
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I'm just waiting on the right moments, but I think when it happens, it'll be awesome.
Yeah, and you just signed a deal as well, right?
Yeah, yeah, so Position, I'm with Position, they're amazing, I love the team, and that's helped me a lot too, where it's like, "Okay, I love this song, it's not really, what I am used to singing or producing, but" and then I'll send it and they'll be like, "Okay, you have to do like, you gotta put that out." So
Oh, cool.
it helps me to get out of my head, and, they seem to have a really good pulse on what's going on.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate your time, Hunter. Thank you so much, man,
Yeah,
for doing
absolutely,
this.
absolutely,
Uh,
like that.
I have one more question for you before I let you go. I wanna know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Oh, man. I don't know. I think I'm like a victim of the overthinking thing. And I think a lot of times, like some of the most successful people are people who don't overthink it. And I'm trying to actively get away from that to this day. And it's like you got to let people know that you're out there, right? You got to like you just have to get out of your head and just do it.
Bringing it backward.